Ready, Freddy, baby. What's going on, everybody?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Welcome to the new podcast.
It's Corey Roysum.
And this is Nathan Payne bringing you another episode of Wholesaling, brought to you by InvestorThrive.com. What is InvestorThrive, Corey?
Podcast about wholesaling.
That's right.
About how to improve your real estate and personal life.
Check out InvestorThrive.com. We got some free courses on there on how to wholesale, JV, analyze deals nationwide. We're here to, give you that content for free. So anyway, what are we going to talk about today, Corey? What's this episode about?
Yeah, today we want to discuss a little bit about the nationwide model versus just being a local wholesaler. Kind of the pros and cons. We've done both, so we want to talk a little bit about our experience with both ones and
that's right, yeah,
and what it looks like.
So I guess let's dive into it. Let's just get into it. So we've when we first started wholesaling, we were just in Utah, right? That's all we did.
Yep.
We would go on appointments.
I don't even think we thought about nationwide.
We didn't even know it was possible.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed impossible.
Yeah, and then me and you, we used to just go on the appointments ourselves, and that's when we got deep into Franklin Covey, John Martinez, all this training, because we're like,
sales training, yeah.
We wanted to get really good on appointments. And then, leads got more expensive in Utah. I guess our marketing wasn't that on point, or we just weren't willing to pay what it took to compete out here, which is, you want to.
Costs a lot to get leads here.
Yeah, and I'm assuming it costs a lot to get leads pretty much anywhere. At that point, we just didn't realize what we had to do, to get leads. So we decided to go nationwide because we heard, the leads are a lot cheaper. And so we dove into that. It's been about a year and a couple months since we've done nationwide. And, we still do it. But there are pros and there are cons to nationwide, and there's pros and cons to being a local wholesaler. You mastered and you're only in one market. So
let's talk about the pros and cons of nationwide, and then we'll compare it to local.
Okay, so the pros, I'm just going to rattle stuff off because I didn't write this down, but the pros of nationwide is you get to try and understand multiple markets and see other, what other markets like, Tampa, Georgia, Atlanta, Birmingham. You get to see other markets, even small towns, and what properties they're selling for all over. And that's kind of cool to see. It's just interesting. You feel like when you first do, you feel like you're a baller. You feel like you're doing something. You're like, hell, I can do this anywhere in the world, anywhere in the nation, and I can do it from my sitting in my PJs. Like these people don't
sitting in bed.
Like that's cool. That you can do it anywhere, and you feel like you don't have limits. When you're on just in your own market, you kind of feel like maybe you've tapped out your market, which is probably never true.
I mean, we ran some numbers today on Salt Lake.
Yeah. What were they?
So roughly, this is like estimation based off like percentages like that people have done the research, but they say like anywhere between 15 and 24% of deals are sold to investors. And so in the Salt Lake and the surrounding counties that we live in and operate in, that equates to roughly like 8,000 to 11,000 deals a year, which is 700 to 900 deals a month.
And right now we're doing
before we stopped doing it, we were doing like 1 to 3, sometimes 4, right?
Right.
So we were doing less than 1%.
Yeah.
Of the deals.
Somebody's swallowing those up.
Yeah. I mean,
Cool.
it's a variety of people, right?
Right. I mean, so we left mainly because it was the leads were expensive, but I don't know why we got on that. Do you remember why you shared that statistic?
Well, we were talking about like getting leads anywhere, right?
Yeah, and how like you might feel like you've tapped your market out, so you feel going nationwide like there's an unlimited amount of leads. Yeah. So that's the pro is like mindset wise, you feel like there's an unlimited amount because there's an unlimited amount in your market, Yeah,
I mean, if you did even 10% of your local market, it'd be crazy, right?
Yeah. Good luck, right?
So
I mean, you can, but anyway.
So yeah, the nationwide is another pro, I think, and the reason we got into it is like the cost per lead.
Yeah.
So like the cost per lead is really low. Like we were spending
$50. when we first started.
$50 a lead nationwide versus like a couple $100 in Utah,
Right.
which sounds great. But you know, there's a lot of challenges that come with nationwide. You know, you're
It's not getting the cons yet.
yeah, that's true.
So the pro
We'll get into that in a minute.
is the cost per lead, but that, I guess that comes with a con, right?
Yeah.
So you can work from anywhere. I think I already said that, but again, let's talk about how you can run a sales organization from home. Everyone can work online, virtually. I mean, it was pretty cool with COVID. Everybody was
Save time not going on appointments.
save time not going on appointments, which is, we're learning might be a double-edged sword. But
Yeah.
but yeah, you don't.
It's pro and a con.
It's a pro and a con too. So again, we do nationwide. We're not like knocking it, but I think it's time to be a little transparent. For people that are brand new starting. I mean, we've been doing it for a year and a half. Like maybe there's some people that have just nailed it and just have it the process and the system's just nailed down. But in all reality, the pros are leads are less expensive because you're targeting a larger area. You can work from anywhere. You can work from home. You don't have to dress up to go to work because you're just on the phone the whole time. If you do a Zoom call or want to meet with them virtually, then you might not even care if you dress up, but you can. It's
Makes
more
you
casual.
feel like you have more opportunities available to you because, I mean, you got the whole country, right?
Right. And what other pros are there? You can work in an office with everybody, and everyone can stay there.
You can do that local, though.
Right, if you could do local, maybe people are in and out more, going on appointments. But I guess everyone's there at the office. And by the way, it's not just an office. You can work at home and stuff. You can one of our sales guys works in his house because he's not here locally with us. Are there any other pros you can think of? Cheap leads and not go anywhere.
Not really.
I mean, my wife likes the model because then, we could eventually work, if I want to live in Canada for a couple months out of the year, I could live there, right, and still do my job. So that's a pro, right? Like you could do it from anywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, even that's like almost, that's not quite nationwide versus local. That's more like virtual versus in person, right?
But isn't that the kind of same thing, virtual?
No, I mean, you can do virtual in your own market.
It's very true. So that's like it's like a middle ground. You can do virtual in your own market and just tell the people like, hey, I live there. I'm just not there right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like being in one market or being in like technically every market, right? Nationwide is being in every market, like whatever markets come in, right? But local, you're targeting one specific market. So whether you live there or not, I don't think it matters.
Okay. I'm trying to think. There's got to be more pros than just cost per lead, and you can work more conveniently at home, and you don't have to go drive. I mean, driving time, right? Like going to appointments that's a pro that you don't have to do that. Like, and go gas money and maybe get stood up by some sellers. Like you call them and they're either ready to go or they're not.
But once again, I mean, that's not necessarily nationwide. That's virtual. So we got to separate.
Well, usually if you're nationwide, you're getting leads and yet you can't get to, so you're virtually.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like in your local market, you can still do a virtual model and not go on appointments.
So we're talking, okay. So I guess I'm thinking virtual.
You're kind of mixing
I'm
it,
mixing
right?
virtual and
Nationwide.
I think they go hand in hand. That's why.
Well, obviously nationwide has to be virtual, right?
Yeah, so that's why I'm talking about it. And
But
that's
it's
one of the
not
pros.
I think to separate like the pros and cons versus nationwide. Like the main pro is that you can get leads cheaper because you're broader targeted. And there's like more opportunities, right? Like you could find, niche areas that maybe aren't as targeted as like the areas you live in.
That's
So
true.
we found a couple markets that we feel are like pretty solid because it doesn't seem like there's a ton of competition there.
But we would never live there,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So virtual. All right, so that's not a very long list of pros.
No, that's honestly, it's a lot harder. Like we talk about this all the time. Like we do a lot of work
Yeah.
in the nationwide model. Like it's a lot of calling. It's a lot of phone time. It's a lot of uncertainty. It's a lot of trying deals. It's a lot of stuff, right?
So let's talk about the cons then. And this
Those are
isn't
some.
to dissuade you from doing it. You can do whatever you want. And we're doing it, but we're constantly analyzing our business and seeing what's the best option. And during COVID, probably was a great option. Not saying it's not a great option, but it probably was a better option just because of the virtual. People didn't even want you going there. But now, like, think that's kind of like maybe meeting with sellers and stuff like that is not, that scary anymore. The people that are doing it are probably getting an edge over the people over the phone,
Yeah.
So let's talk about the cons. So I'm in the acquisitions part of the business, and what I'm seeing is the people that are in their own markets, they understand their market like really well. They've mastered their market. And if I get a lead, even in like Dallas, I don't really know Dallas that well. I know it's hot, but I don't know that, like, that street, that area. Like if you gave me a lead in West Valley, I'd say, in Salt Lake, I'd be like, oh yeah, I know where that is. That's a freaking deal. I know Jim. Me and Jim are tight. I think he'd want it.
You know general ideas of prices in your area versus like Dallas. Like someone wants a house, someone wants to sell their house at this price in this area. Like it doesn't mean anything.
So the con is not being 100%, knowing the area.
Yeah.
Like wherever you get the lead, you're like unsure. So when you do nationwide and virtual, you're like kind of have to just get it at a freaking great deal, or you're not sure. Like you can run comps, you can run PropStream, Zillow, you can do all the comps, but like you're never really 100% sure. Maybe if you make some calls, but then that's like different. You're taking time versus if you knew, right? You haven't mastered the market. We're talking to Jerry Norton today, and he says he even, he doesn't mind doing virtual for a couple markets that you've mastered. Like I think he's from Detroit, and he's in Puerto Rico, and he's lived all over, but he's done deals there, so he knows the area like the back of his hand because he's done tons of deals
his main
there.
Area, right?
Yeah, so that's one of the cons for acquisitions is you just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the cons seem like they're way more than the pros for nationwide.
Yeah, and we're actually,
I guess it's like the magnitude of the pro or the con, right? Like how.
Yeah, like we're actually going to Sean Terry's mastermind, and we joined his mastermind because he is nationwide. So we're gonna kind of talk.
He does really well at it, right?
He does really well at it. So we're gonna talk to him more about it because it's possible that we're not perfect at it. We've been in it for a year, and we make money and we do deals, but like maybe there's a couple things we could tweak. But let's keep talking about the cons. So the con is not knowing the area. Con is not building amazing rapport with the seller as you could if you were in person, because that's just how it is. People don't really know who you are. I think I build amazing rapport on the phone. I even jump on Zoom calls, and people trust me. But not.
Let's just talk about the numbers, right?
Okay.
So we just talked to another one of our mentors, who is just in like local markets.
You'd call him one of our mentors? Yeah, he's tight.
Yeah, he's awesome. And he's helped us out a lot. So that's why I call him a mentor. But he's in a couple markets, right? Like they're market by market, right?
Yeah, they only do in person.
Like he started out in one market, grew to another market. So they do all their stuff in person. So their leads, they close 1 out of 8 leads.
1 out of 8.
1 out of 8 leads.
That's unreal.
That's incredible. Right now, we close 1 out of 90.
1
nationwide.
out of 90. Yeah. That's
So
true.
we're doing all that work with 90 leads to get a deal. He does all that little amount of work. He does go on the appointments, so there's some driving, but way less work to get a deal with 8 leads.
And you might say, hey, hold up, you guys suck. You could do 1 out of 90. And it's like, we don't suck, and necessarily it's just.
It's not far off the nationwide average, though.
Yeah, I mean, you might talk to somebody. Sean Terry told us he does 1 out of 60. And, if that's what he does, then he's obviously got a more dialed-in system. But 30 leads difference is that's not that big of a difference, right?
No, it's still a lot of work.
It's still a lot of work, like 1 out of 60 people. And the reason why is nationwide, you got to scrap like 50% of your leads.
Yeah.
Like you get areas that are outside of metros, no buyers.
There's just so many like issues. Like one of our biggest things we face is title issues, right?
Yeah, but is that because it's virtual or nationwide?
I think part of it is.
Why?
Like, I just think like if you're local to the title company, you have a relationship with the title company because you
Yeah.
do deals with them over and over again.
But a lot of people
I think they help
solve
you
that.
push those through.
But a lot of people solve that by closing all their deals at one title company and getting that relationship nationwide.
Yeah, but that's been hard too because they don't care about they
Until
haven't
you
like
do a
cared
ton.
about us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you just got to show them that you can get deals done, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing is like it's hard to get deals done. The deals that we've tried to close with them have had title issues that we can't get through.
Yeah, and I guess another thing is the buyer usually wants to dictate the title company they close at because they're paying the closing costs and they want to feel comfortable with who they're working with. Like, have you ever had a buyer that's like, I want to close with my title company, and you're like, nah, you're closing with ours?
Yeah, I mean we don't have one, so
But do you think they'd have a problem with that, or probably not?
I think if you're serious about closing with yours, I think you could get them to do it, but we don't have one, so it's kind of like sure.
Yeah. So anyway,
So I think like going back to the numbers, 1 out of 8, we close all. And by the way, like so deals that come in, right? So contracts. Once you guys get a contract in acquisitions, you send it over to Dispo.
right.
They close almost all their contracts locally. And when we did it here in Utah,
We closed all
we
of our.
closed almost. I can't think of any that we didn't close. There might have been one or two, but
Okay.
we closed almost everything
Right.
that we got under contract. Nationwide, we close 1 out of 8. So every 8 contracts, we close 1. 7 we have to scrap.
And that's because we couldn't find a buyer or title issues. And there's like at least 30% of the houses we put under contract nationwide have title issues. So you
Yeah.
almost need like a savage.
We got over 100K at title in title issues that we're trying to figure out
Right now?
get closed.
Yeah. So, you know what? I personally believe nationwide works if you're willing to put in the money to get the leads. Like if you're willing to spend the 30 to 50 to 80 to 100,000 a month, then it's like, yeah, then you're going to have enough opportunities. You're going to get that low hanging fruit and the people that you can just push through. Because, you know, if you talk to someone on the phone and they're not ready to make a decision right then, you got to nurture them. And that leaves, you know, the opportunity for someone else to come in and.
Well, and that just adds on to the work, right?
Right.
If you're nurturing 90 leads versus, you know, so you close 1 out of 8, you get nurture 7.
Yeah.
You close 1 out of 90, you nurture 89.
Those are his numbers, right? Like that's not everybody on this
I think we were
podcast,
close to that though.
but not everyone on this podcast is or that does, you know, in their market is doing 1 out of 8.
Yeah,
That's freaking amazing.
that is great.
He said you said 1 out of 8 leads.
Yeah, let's say 1 out of 20 though.
I don't know if you're
Still.
doing 1 out of 8 leads. I mean, that's what he's saying, but that's freaking amazing. Like, is that cold calling leads? Like cold calling leads, you ain't closing 1 out of 8 cold calling leads.
All kinds of different leads: texting, cold calling, Facebook, PPC.
I'm starting to think that's a little too good to be true, to be real. 1 out of 8 texting leads. I mean, you send in.
I mean, it depends on what you count as a lead.
Well, I count a lead as anyone that comes through and said yes, I want to
Well, I
sell.
guess we need to clarify with him what he counts as lead. But when we did it back in the day, we were probably somewhere 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10 leads.
We didn't get that many leads.
I guess we'd have to look at the
But
numbers.
let's say it was 1 out of 20.
Yeah, I mean,
Still.
it's obviously better. But I just don't think it's that low. I mean, for us, if we
Doesn't
went
matter if
back
it's that
into
low.
it.
Because, like, I'm not saying that everyone will hit 1 out of 8, but 1 out of 20 is still, like, significantly better than 1 out of 90.
Yeah, and by the way, he does go on every appointment, right? So that's 1 out of 8. Those 8 leads, I'm sure all of them had an appointment.
Yeah.
At least.
Well, and I think that's why he closes so many of the leads,
Yeah, it goes on appointments.
is he's face-to-face.
So, okay. So con is let's keep going. What have we already said? Con of nationwide.
Well, let's go back to it even further. So 1 out of 90, right?
1 out
If
of
you need 90 leads to get a deal, that means you got to do a lot. You got to get a lot more leads, right? We do 4 to 5 deals a month right now.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to get to 10, we need to like double our leads. So right now we're getting like 400 to 500 leads a month.
Right,
We need
right.
to go double to get like 1,000 leads.
which isn't crazy. I mean, it's just a lot of work,
It's not crazy, but it's a lot of work, a lot of money.
a lot of calls.
Where like it sounds like he's spending like a couple thousand per deal because he closes so efficiently, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And that's what he said on the call today too.
that's amazing.
I mean, that's how he's like 7, 8, 9x in his money, right?
Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people have tried the nationwide model, and because they're not willing to spend as much as it really requires to get as many opportunities as you need to get deals, they go back to their markets. And I think you need less leads to be doing deals in your own market. So con takes more work, and you got to spend more. And that's not necessary on the spend more.
Yeah. Spend more seems like you would spend less, but we'll update you guys as we do more marketing here in Utah.
Yeah. So right now, what we're gonna do, what we're personally doing in our business.
Before we talk about what we're gonna do,
Okay.
let's talk about local now. Pros and cons.
So cons of local are a lot of competition. I mean, you in the mailers, if you send out mailers, for example, every local wholesaler's got that
Depends
list.
on your market, right? But like if you're in a big market,
like Arizona,
like
right?
Phoenix or Salt Lake or Denver or LA or the Texas cities.
A lot of people go nationwide because they're tired. I mean, Sean Terry told us because the marketing was so expensive in Phoenix, he decided to go nationwide. That's what he said.
Yep. I think that's why a lot of people do it.
Yeah, because it's just too expensive
That's why
to
we
market.
did it.
That's why we did it. But it's starting to seem to me like we can do like a hybrid, right? Like we can go on appointments here when we get leads here. I mean, we just did a deal here in Utah. I didn't even go. I don't even think I didn't need to go. I got it done. But maybe if I would have gone, maybe I got a better deal. Who knows?
Yeah, or if we got, I mean, that's only like a few leads. We only get like a couple leads a month here.
Mm-hmm.
So if we got more leads, then you got to weigh like, okay, if I went to see more of the leads, would I close more of those deals?
Yeah. Well, are we still talking about the cons?
Yeah. I mean, we just started talking about cons, so
Well,
we
I
only
think
named
we
the
went
one,
over.
right? Like, could be more expensive to get a deal here.
More expensive. Okay.
So that's a possibility. But
More expensive to get. You got to drive everywhere.
Driving on appointments takes time. Could be a waste of time.
Maybe you got to dress up nice to go on your appointments to look professional. You know what we dress up in is we like to be casual. So I show up like this to an appointment, they're probably not going to take me seriously.
Yeah. Maybe not, but I get what you're saying.
What is another con to be in your own market? I guess a con is, well, I mean, even if you went on a
the
vacation,
main con is competition.
competition.
And at least for most markets, it's competition.
But aren't you getting that same competition when you go nationwide?
In big markets, probably.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're in small markets, then you're probably not getting that much competition. But the leads, nobody wants those.
Yeah. Trying to think of any other cons.
Expensive, more competition. That's all I got. But I don't even see the competition as a thing. If you start going to every appointment and you believe you're the greatest,
Lock it up.
lock it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I think cons is just, you're just a little limited in geographical area, right?
You get less leads every month, of course.
Yeah.
So maybe
it's going to cost more per lead, probably.
Well, I mean, let's look at
Maybe not more per deal, but more per lead sure.
Let's talk about our mentor, though. Like the mentor you were running his numbers. He says that $197 cost per lead, right, in those markets he's targeting on PPC.
Yeah.
And then it's 97 on Facebook. So it is more expensive. And then when we were doing the
But
Facebook,
that doesn't mean it costs more to get a deal, right? That means it costs more to get a lead. But if your closing ratio is so much better of like the number of leads it takes to get a deal, then that's what really actually matters too, right?
well, that's all that matters. It doesn't
Like
matter.
if one lead costs you $1,000, but you can close
one
lead versus
Well,
versus
shoot.
closing 90.
I think you're right, bro. I think you're right. Like 100%. So anyway, what this conversation is,
We've been we've been chatting about this all day because we're trying to figure out what we want to do in our business, whether we want to stick to nationwide. I mean, we haven't marketed here in Utah for a long time.
We did a little bit of texting at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, but that's...
And we got a deal.
Yeah.
So anyway, the purpose of this podcast isn't for us to, talk about what we're going to do. This is mainly the pros and cons, but I guess we're figuring out what we should do as well. I think, again, if you have the money to spend nationwide and you got the infrastructure and the team and you have the acquisition guys and leads managers and the whole infrastructure to handle all those leads, then yeah, do nationwide. And if you're willing to spend 30 to 50 to 80 to 100,000, go ahead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what our mentor told us today is like, hey, if you're gonna do nationwide, like it's not a bad model to do, but you need to have it like completely separate from your local markets model.
Yeah.
Right, like different salespeople, different dispo people. Like it's almost like it's another business because it's very different. Like it's very different approaches with conversations with sellers, with conversations with buyers. It's a lot different when you're not there.
Yeah. I mean, one thing we're going to do immediately to pivot to because it seems like getting in someone's face to face helps you get a deal, like your closing ratio go up. I think what we're going to do is do more Zoom calls, like try to see the people and see if that changes, because we're at one out of 90 right now, right? So if we can drop that down with some face-to-face interaction in the Zoom calls, then we'll see if my hypothesis is correct. Like, we just need to get in people's faces. So we'll try.
I mean, there's so many variables that go into like why someone will or won't do a deal with you, right?
I don't think we have so much a hard time. This is the hard time we have in acquisitions, is getting it at the right price, because they're talking to 5 other people. They're going to go with whoever can get them the best deal most of the time. And if they're talking to 5 people on the phone, maybe they don't really care so much about rapport. They're just looking
Problem
for...
is they're probably not talking to 5 people on the phone. They're probably talking to a couple people on the phone and a couple people in person.
Mm-hmm. And what do you...
And so I think the people in person are going to win those deals.
Because they feel more comfortable. I mean, I have lost a couple deals.
Even if... Sometimes, like Jamie said, even if they pay less, they'll still win deals.
Because they feel like it's a real person.
They're comfortable. They have that relationship built.
Yeah, you're right. So, I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, I probably lose out on deals all the time. I'm trying to think of any specific. Of course, you lose out of deals. Yeah.
I mean, I sit next to you, right? So I listen to a lot of your calls, and there's calls that seem like they're going great, right? Like, it seems like you're doing really well, and then you just like kind of never hear back from them. I'm sure they went with someone else. You know what I mean? Someone
locked them up, like went there and was like, "Why are you dealing with someone on the phone? They don't know the market. Bump them."
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's pretty easy for us to decide nationwide. I think leads were cheaper nationwide too. Like, it's only gone up, and maybe that's just because leads are going up. Period.
Yeah, maybe competition. Could be a lot of different reasons.
Like when we were doing the nationwide model, when we first started using Nick Perry's model, a year and a half ago, leads were really like $45-$50 a lead, and then they eventually started.
Sometimes cheaper. There's a time where I swear we're getting them like $30 a lead when we first started.
And then you have to tweak them, right? Unless you want a bunch of crap, and once you start tweaking and getting better areas, it's like $100 a lead, and then it's like, well, shoot, now this is like really expensive. So we'll talk to Sean Terry again, but I mean, I don't.
So we're gonna do a hybrid, I think.
Yeah, like you talking.
Do some nationwide still, but still do, and then start marketing more here in Utah. And
do you think
we want to dominate this market?
So let me ask you. So let's talk about another con: is dispoing your deal, right? If you're
nationwide, right?
Huh?
Nationwide.
Yeah, nationwide dispoing your deal. That's in your own market. It's easier.
Yeah, way easier.
You go to the RIAs, you make relationships, you take it down with a hard money loan because you feel comfortable. You can keep it if you want, but if you're just talking strictly wholesaling, then you pretty much know who's actively buying.
Yeah, I mean, I think the nationwide con is like we don't know if we're not talking to enough buyers, right?
And the only way to really find out is talk to like maybe an agent and find out like what their opinion is.
Yeah.
like an expert in the area, and be like, hey, you guys are way off.
Yeah, and that just like goes to show you how much time needs to be put into it, right?
Yeah, like, and that's why, like, with Nationwide, if you get a deal at 50% of Zillow or Redfin or whatever, then yeah, it's like you don't have to do any freaking diving into it. You know, you got a deal. It's 50%. But the thing is, a lot of these people, I mean, I'm on the phones all day. How many people are okay with 50% of Zillow? I don't care
tough.
how I'm good at sales. I don't care how good you are at sales. You're not convincing someone to take 50% of Zillow. They're either okay with it, and you know, but I just don't see anyone convincing like someone to do that.
Yeah, it's a numbers game, finding the right people.
So, let's recap. Pros of Nationwide: you can work in your PJs. You can you don't have to dress up. You can work from your anywhere virtually.
There's just more. Well,
you feel
not
like
necessarily less
there's more
competition, but you feel like
opportunities.
there's more opportunity, lower cost per lead.
So con is costs. Leads are coming in different areas, so you got to analyze every new one, right? Like every new area. It's almost like you got to it's a new spot.
Because you don't know the market, you got to get cheap deals.
Yep.
So you can sell them. Because you need to find deals that like you don't have to find the random buyer that wants it. You need a deal that like most people would want.
I mean, talking to our mentor, one of our mentors about it. I mean, he says he even struggles to dispo his stuff in his good markets, like that he's a monster at, right?
Yeah, I think that's because of his location,
Okay, because where he's getting the leads.
where he does deals.
Okay, not
Like-
necessarily he doesn't have the relationship.
Yeah, like here we don't struggle at all to dispo a deal.
right. If it's yeah. If it's a
In
deal.
other parts of the West Coast we don't struggle at all, but there's parts of the South that like it's just more particular, I think.
Yeah. So those were the pros. The cons of Nationwide is like dispoing. You have to do a lot more calls, a lot more work.
So much more work.
You got to get a hold of a ton of people. I think you have to have a bigger team to do Nationwide, because
Yeah,
you
like,
got more leads.
We do 4 or 5 deals a month, and our guys are busy all day.
Working hard, working their butts off.
We got 2 dispo guys,
Recently, 2 dispo guys.
3 acquisition guys, recently 4.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all working all day long.
That's right. Okay. So the pros of what's the next one? In your market is, you know, the market like the back of your hand. You can you feel confident. You know the buyers in the area. Dispoing is easier.
Here's a KPI we should add: work per deal.
Work per deal. Like, what do you like?
Like how much work it takes to get a deal. Like hours.
How much stress?
Hours spent, stress spent per deal. Because Nationwide's off the charts compared to your local market, right? I mean, there's deals here that you go get it locked up. You got it sold by the next, like,
Within a minute.
yeah, like it's so easy.
Yeah, man.
Like a couple hours of work. Whereas like some of the Nationwide deals, like
They're
you
stressful.
probably don't see
bro.
it as much, but like Eric spends hours and hours pushing deals through, like with the title companies.
Yeah, well, that's why people have transaction coordinators. You know, he does kind of both.
But then that's not even, I wasn't even counting like all the work spent calling people and finding new buyers and sending them the deal. Like here you just send out the deal and you get people.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious what we need to do. Nationwide requires a lot more work, and we just need to refine to master an area. I mean, I've talked to a lot of wholesalers that have basically done the Nationwide model. They got an investor lift and a bunch of other services, and they're like, forget that. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think there are still people that are still doing it, right? Like us, you know, but it works for some. I mean, I know there's a couple big dogs that are doing it that's why I don't think we should shut it off. But I think you got to be very particular with
I
the
wonder
areas.
why, like, so there's a couple guys, like one guy we know of that has his own markets, and then also does nationwide. I wonder why he just doesn't go into more markets.
That's a good
Because
question.
he's 1 out of 92, right?
Yeah.
For leads per deal.
Said he does 1 out of 25 to 45 leads as a contract, and he says out of those contracts, he does about 30%, right? So does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's roughly 1 out of 90.
Yeah,
leads.
1 out of 90.
Could be worse.
Could be worse. It could be better. But just like us, like it could be worse. It could be better, right? Like I think if we can like fix Dispo, their process. I mean, we're not even doing what Sean Terry teaches like completely, right? He has like a complete different, not a complete different process, but it seems a little bit more narrowed down.
A couple things we need to add.
Yeah, a couple things we need to add, and then I think if we can add some Zoom calls, it will get better. But I don't see nationwide making sense unless you're going to, you find that cheap lead source. Like, for example, on the pay-per-click, if you can somehow, master the optimization of your landing page and like Google loves you, then yeah, maybe you can get like cheaper than $50 a lead, maybe. But
bro, we spent $100,000 last year trying to figure out PPC.
But we didn't use. We used our own like that. Our landing page wasn't like on Unbounce, and it wasn't that tight.
Yeah, but we still had like a 14% conversion, similar to Sean Terry.
Yeah, I don't think it was as good as his. Like close to as good as his.
Close.
Sometimes it was like 7%.
The different
conversion.
Yeah, but there at the end we got it up to 14%.
Well,
and I think he was somewhere in that range.
What's your thoughts on his model of targeting whole states and getting leads that are pretty much in the middle of nowhere? But what's your thoughts on that?
You just need to spend a lot to get a lot of them, so you can get the crap out of there and focus on the good ones.
We'll ask him, but I wonder why he just doesn't target specific areas. And I think he's already
asked him last time.
And what did he say? He's like
cost per lead.
Cost per lead
goes up.
Cost per lead. But I mean, doesn't that, if his cost per lead goes up, but he's scrapping 50%, he's technically paying $100 a lead, right? If you're scrapping 50%, so doesn't that equal out?
I mean, it might not work out those exact numbers. You know what I mean?
He might not be scrapping 50%.
Well, like maybe if he did, let's say he did like specific areas, and say he got a total of like, I don't know, 30 leads, right?
Mm-hmm.
But doing the whole state, he gets 100 leads but scraps 50 of them. He's got 50 leads versus 30 leads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It might be something like that.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I remember when we were doing, I know he targets California, and I know when we were doing California, we were getting leads in just the crappiest parts of California when we were doing the whole state, right? And so,
yeah.
I mean, really, they're not letting you get a lead in San Francisco unless you're willing to pay what the people are bidding for in San Francisco. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Same with LA.
And all those wonderful places where if you get a deal, you get.
I think the other thing though is like, if you get leads in those areas, like you can work out like huge spreads, right? And that's what I think is the beneficial part about, like, even if you only get 30 leads in smaller, in the good areas, and you pay more per lead,
you got bigger spreads.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you master a market, you maximize the dollar you can make on it. Like, let me give you guys an example. We did a deal in Baltimore, Maryland, and we barely could dispo it. Like, we couldn't find anyone to buy it. We made $12,000 on it. And then we found out
two separate houses.
It was two duplexes that were torn up. So we sold it we barely were able to find someone, and he was like a kind of a jerk about it. He was like being like really demanding, like he didn't even really want the deal. So we signed him for $12,000 for these two duplexes, and then we saw that 2 days later, like after a month, we went back and looked. The dude had put it on the MLS 2 days later, and he made $97,000 just from putting it on the MLS. And we were like, come on. Like, that's so we lost out.
Prime example. So we average like 20K here in Utah per deal.
Uh-huh.
Nationwide, before like our huge deal that, I think skews the average profit per deal or revenue per deal, it was like 11K.
Which is not good at all.
No. Because we spend 6K to get a deal.
Yeah.
So if you spend 6 or 7K to get a deal here, and you make
Yeah.
20, it's
I'm just gonna say over and over again. You spend enough doing the nationwide model, it makes sense because you're gonna get some whales. You're gonna get some things like Sean
and that's
Terry
why Sean
does.
Terry focuses on California, because every mastermind that we go to now, he's like telling us about some fat deal he got in California where he made a couple $100K.
Yeah, and that makes it all worth it, right?
I mean, you could spend all year if you get one deal, it's worth it.
Why aren't we in California, bro?
We should.
We do Utah and California and fly between there.
I'd move to California if the taxes weren't so bad.
Yeah, if the state wasn't whack, I'd move there. It's beautiful in
Yeah, that's
California.
awesome.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, that's kind of like what we wanted to chat with you guys about today is just the pros and cons, and we wrestle.
Our experience.
Yeah,
too.
our experience, and we're not here to hold anything back, like and lie to you guys. Like it's a struggle, like to do both, you know. And I think if you got anyone that's telling you that like they found the holy grail and wholesaling's not hard, I think they're lying. I think it takes a lot of work.
My suggestion to anybody starting: do not do nationwide.
You'll get crushed.
Yeah, like you're not. I mean, you got to learn how to like get deals under contract and how to go sell them. You will struggle immensely
Nationwide.
nationwide
when
if you're newer.
When we talk about, you know, when people want to start and they want to get nationwide because it's cheaper to get leads, you're saying, don't do it.
I don't think it's worth it. I think if you want to start wholesaling, get some leads, go to every appointment, learn how to talk to sellers. The more appointments you go on, the more likely you're going to get a deal. I mean, you can try calling them, but they're going to sense that you're a noob, and it's going to be harder to get a deal over the phone being a noob than if you're in person.
Yeah, I'm like I think I'm great over the phone compared to probably other people. And like, yeah, I mean, some people just want someone in person.
Yeah. And so if you don't do nationwide, do your market, go on appointments, and then if you work out a deal, you know, either try to sell it yourself or reach out to another wholesaler to help you sell it in the market.
Let me give you an example. So I'm talking to this guy named Paul in Dallas right now. He's an old man, 69 years old. And I sent him the DocuSign over his email, and he's just hesitant. He's scared to sign that thing because he's old. He doesn't know technology. If I were to go meet him in person, it'd be done. But
Yeah, I mean, you could have them sign right there.
yeah, so he's just a little concerned. Hey Paul, you don't trust me, like you don't know me? How about a Zoom call? He's like, what? What's a Zoom call?
What's Zoom?
I don't even want to sign this email DocuSign. What, you want me to hit you on a Zoom? So anyway, there are issues with that. And, you know, then I got to think, okay, well, who do I know in Dallas that can go meet Paul? Is this worth me spending my time? There's just a lot more things. But that is an opportunity that wouldn't exist if I'm just here in Utah.
Tell them about the Savannah deal.
Oh, gosh, dude. Okay, so check that. This is a great deal.
This is a great example of, was it Savannah?
Yeah, Savannah,
This is
Georgia.
a great example of the struggles of nationwide.
So Savannah, Georgia, this lady, she owns a house in Savannah, Georgia. Her payments are $500 a month, pretty much, $540 or $520, and it can rent out for $1,500 plus, right? That's $1,000 you can make on rent. So, and she's willing to let it go. She's like, look, I don't want to make the payments. My husband died. I'm just gonna let the bank take it.
So no money down.
No money down. So I'm like, well, what if I just take over the payments for you? And she's like, sure. I'm like, let me send you a DocuSign. We can get this going. She says, I don't have an email. So let me call your son. He must have an email. I call her son named Rufus. I'm like, hey Rufus, I gotta send you an email. Can you get it done? He's like, what up, dog? Like, I ain't got no email. And I'm like, you don't have an email? And then he hung up on me. Like, the dude doesn't have an email either. Like, he must have just, I don't know what happened. He just doesn't have an email. And so I'm like, okay, well, she doesn't have an email. I'm going to have to send someone from Savannah to go see her. Not the biggest deal. It's a good deal. She's like, I don't live in Savannah anymore. I live 2 hours north of Savannah in Ayers or some random town.
By the way, we don't know anybody in Savannah.
Yeah, I don't know anyone in Savannah.
So we'd have to find a random person, probably pay him.
And then coordinate with them.
Hopefully they're not involved in real estate so they don't try to snake the deal for themselves.
So look at it this way. So she's 2 hours away. I have to send someone. I would have to have someone meet her, sign the paperwork, and then stay in contact with her and since it's a seller finance, we're gonna have to get her a third party consent conform or something like that, so we can talk to the title company. She's in default, I think. She hasn't made some payments, so like.
So we have to catch them up.
Her husband died, so he's technically was on title, and
so there may be probate issues.
So just a lot of stuff that if I was able to go down, I get her to sign. I'd know where she is. I could go talk to her when I need to.
Could work out with an attorney here on fixing probate issues.
Yeah, it's just tough because she's away.
So I think like the key is like, that's a deal, right?
It's a deal.
Where we would make good money on it. But it's like, okay, you could spend all your time doing that and potentially not even figure it out, right?
Right.
Or you could spend, and this is why I think like staying in your market versus going nationwide is a good idea. You could spend all your time doing that and have it not work out. It's really hard to coordinate everything. Or you could use your time more wisely and probably do 2 or 3 deals in the amount of time you put into that deal.
Let me give you
in a local area.
Let me give you 2 other.
But is that?
I agree. Yeah. Now let me give you 2 other things. Like, if you are know your market 100%, you might even be able to utilize the MLS. Like, there are deals. We've actually gotten a deal from the MLS before.
Yeah.
And like, if you know your
missed
area,
out on a couple that we should have had.
Yeah, like we know the area, so you can
make relationships with realtors to get deals.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing with being in your market is network. You really build your brand. Like work with attorneys, maybe become known. Go to our RIAs.
Another thing with Nationwide, so we have a deal that we got under contract in March and got it assigned within a couple days. In Del Rio, Texas.
But whether we lived in Del Rio or not, like that's the.
But I think the point is like we haven't had a title company that's been able to push it through.
Yeah, but
we've had to switch title companies, and I think it's just a big thing not knowing like the title person that we deal with here would have pushed it through, would have made it happen, guarantee it. I think it's a relationship thing.
That they'll actually work hard for you?
Yeah, they'll work hard on it. Like, so if the title company there, I'm sure they have plenty of stuff to work on. But like, why do they want to work on ones with all these title issues? They don't.
No, they don't.
And now we're going to lose the deal. Probably got, squatters living in there now because Del Rio's been invaded.
Invaded by those,
I think, I don't know who.
Who knows who's going over there, but yeah. Anyway, there was one other thing that like is happening right now. An example of like why Nationwide is hard right now. Like, is the Savannah deal is one of them. Title issues. I can't think of anything. I'll think of it if maybe. Anyway,
it had to do with another deal.
Yeah, it had to do with another example of why it's difficult, but. I can't think of it right now.
So. Is it one of the current deals we have?
Yeah.
We have that other one it's in Fort Worth or Dallas, right?
Oh, that one. That's a different example of how Nationwide is cool. The guy trusts me, and I followed up with him, and we're good. We're cool. It was a seller finance deal that we're doing, but. Yeah, so I mean it works out. Hey, we're not here to say like you don't get deals. We got deals. We're getting deals, but
I think to start though.
No, dude. If you're gonna start, do not do Nationwide because you won't really know what to do. You won't know how to dispo it. Yeah.
I mean, I think scaling market by market is the best way because then you have systems in place, like, and maybe I don't know, like the system to get boots on the ground in a random place that you've never had a deal. Like, is there a system for that? I mean, maybe there is.
Yeah, you'd probably just reach out to someone in the Facebook group and get tight with them in like a local Facebook group or
and
network.
Hope that they don't steal your deal.
Yeah.
Because you don't know them, but if you got boots on the ground.
Yeah, that's not the hardest thing.
I mean, it's just like a lot of extra work, right? Yeah. To maybe not even have it work out. I think that's one of the main issues.
That's true.
Is like you do all this work and then, I mean, we could sell 1 out of 8. Chances are we won't sell it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we pretty much beat the dead horse, right? Nationwide is cool. it sounds cooler than it really is, to be real.
Yeah.
Let's just shoot you straight.
Sounds cool. I remember thinking when we first started, like, yeah, we've done deals in New Jersey, Texas,
I mean,
California,
you name them,
Florida.
we've done them everywhere.
We've done them in, yeah, probably
And again,
20 states.
it makes sense if you get enough. But the problem is when you start looking at how much it costs you, it's
Yeah, I mean, as we've analyzed this all day in the last couple weeks that we've thought about it, just seems like a no-brainer to like, if you want to really scale and grow, like scale a market, grow in that market, then attack the next market and expand that.
And I talked to a lot of. Well, maybe we should reach out to the people that are Nick Perry's, mastermind, see how they're doing. And we're about to go to Sean Terry's mastermind. We'll see how many people in there are actually doing Nationwide effectively. I'd say we're one of the top ones that are doing it.
Last time I feel like no one was even trying Nationwide hardly.
Well, they do his PPC model in his. And by the way, he doesn't really teach you to do Nationwide. He just says do his pay-per-click model, right, for the whole
That's
state.
really what it's about. Because technically, he's not in every state.
No, he's not in every state. Which I still even think if you even target multiple states, like maybe that's a good idea. But I mean, if you know those areas, maybe that's honestly even a better route. Start with like 3 states. Start with 2 states.
Or start with one.
Or start with 1. Yeah, I mean, there should be enough deals in there. I think the reason why you go to multiple states. I mean, we used to do PPC and we would just target Utah, Georgia, Texas, Florida, and California. But still, like, unless you got the money, what are you gonna? It's still $100 a lead.
Yeah, I mean, you still need a lot of leads per deal. Probably less than 90, but.
So anyway, that's it. I mean, that's
yeah.
So if you're considering doing Nationwide, and you then do it, then go ahead. And if you need help displaying your deal, we've done enough that we know how to sell our deals. And
if it's a deal, we can sell it.
We'll sell it. Yeah, that's not a problem. Again, the issue was getting enough leads and opportunities to get a deal. So
yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys.
We'll hopefully we didn't bore you to death,
we'll try to keep these topics interesting.
Yeah,
and pertinent to wholesaling and real estate.
Yeah, the reason for this is something that we're facing, right? And I'm sure you guys want relevant.
I think a lot of people probably struggle to get leads in their market and are considering it, but my advice is keep fighting, keep working at your market. Keep making connections, keep networking, keep, marketing and trying to get deals, and you'll make it happen. And then if you want to go nationwide, after you understand the wholesaling business model, then you can do it. But
right, to start out, you're gonna struggle a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Like he said, check out investorthrive.com. We'll teach you how to analyze deals nationwide. That's your model. And
teach you how to dispo,
JV. I mean, we'll teach you the whole thing. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
See you guys
later, guys.